Good afternoon, Karim Ali from Amico Travel. I have a question. In the presentation, there are projections for increasing in tourism if we adopt open skies, and the occupancy rate is 90 or 95%, and sometimes we fight over rooms for big groups. So if we liberate these skies, where are we going to accommodate these people? So in Luxor, for example, do we have enough hotels to accommodate these groups? Or shall we start investing in building hotels? And we refer to many countries, and all these countries are ready today to receive the tourists. There is a shuttle in front of the bus. They don't need travel agencies or tour guides to help them. But of course, the number of individuals demanding local services will increase, and this is a risk that should be taken into consideration. I just want to reaffirm the fact that Luxor is a fully liberated airport. It's open. So even if we apply this open sky policy, the increase will not be reflected in Luxor, Hurghada, or Marsa Alam airport. So we are putting too much effort, time. That's why I agree with Mr. Khalid. We shouldn't focus on one thing that will not have much return on tourism, as Mr. Ilhami said. If we are sure that certain countries will send its own tourists, then during the bilateral negotiations we can increase the share as per the tourist traffic, and Civil Aviation Authority stands ready to help make this a reality. And I want to affirm the fact that we need a hub airport, and of course it's hard for Sky team to come here to connect flights, but of course what you're saying is ready. We need another airport in Cairo, and we are studying this scenario to be able to have bigger capacities, and that will not be an airport city but an airport Aeropolis. We are still studying the two airports scenario. And of course, Sphinx Airport is being studied, and we are also analyzing the strategy through which we will operate the airport, whether only charter operators or other national companies apart from Egypt Air. And some people say that we can invite new companies to Egypt, and we are still studying the strategy as we are taking into account all the perspectives. But at the end of the day, we work for the benefit of the country in the tourism sector without any detriment to the flag carrier. Last question to Mr. Hannu. And then the MP, and then we will conclude. I have a brief comment, please, in 1 minute. Why are we always starting from the end? We need to review the experience of other countries. Did that succeed? If yes, then we should resume. If not, then we start to pick up from where they left off. Equally important question. we don't want liberating Egyptian skies only. We want to have a bottom-up approach. So I work with the air services at airports, and all the airports should be liberated from the red tape and from the non-friendship attitude the staff has there. So let's have a look at Dubai airport. Of course, the infrastructure is really strong and well designed, but since they did not have enough manpower, they had to import or they had to hire people to work there. Thank you so much. In 1 minute, please, because we have 5 minutes to finish. I'm a member of the parliament representing Asyut Governorate. The coming opportunity should be given to religious tourism or visiting houses of worship, because in this kind of tourism, tourists spend much and they might visit Upper Egypt. But are these areas relevant to receiving these people? Can we start establishing small airports to promote religious tourism? Can we include that in the system or in the model we're studying? Or thank you so much. I just want to comment, Asyut airport is operational, but the traffic is really low because, as you know, Sohag took from the chair of Asyut airport because we have workers traveling from Upper Egypt frequently. That's why we had to open Sohag Airport, and Sohag Airport needs to be upgraded or expanded because it reached its full capacity. But we cannot open a new airport for for a special kind of tourism, because that would be not cost effective, because the return will not match the cost. But if there is a projected traffic from this kind of tourism, then we can study this scenario. But I want to assure you, Egypt Air got the approval to increase the frequency of the flights to Rome and Milano. So we have one flight in the morning and one in the afternoon. Thank you so much. I want to answer some questions and present some point of views. Instead of opening skies, let's focus on promoting tourism. We are discussing opening skies, and I don't know if you know that we conducted a big study for tourism, including a road map and all the institutional and administrative steps, and the roadmap is available for you, and this was sent to Her Excellency the Minister of Tourism, and I want to ask Ms. Sahar in her capacity as a member of Parliament to follow up with the Minister of Tourism on implementing this roadmap. So we have discussed and researched tourism sector because we have been ignoring this subject for a while, and it's time to decide on that. And the discussion we had today made it clear that the whole issue is bigger than taking this decision. We have a whole system to be reformed, Egypt Air, airport infrastructure, among other things. So it's not about avoiding discussing such a topic, it's about discussing all the relevant aspects in order to cross the T's and dot the I's. As for the flag carrier protection, I do agree with you, but supporting Egypt Air is important, and I always travel with Egypt Air despite the ever increasing prices. But efficiency is a different story. I want Egypt Air to function with the maximum capacity, and this has nothing to do with privatization. So we need to differentiate between protection and support and efficiency. You referred to Africa. Yes, and this is a systematic problem because Africa connectivity should be linked to exportation sector. Are we referring to tourism or businesses, and which business sectors? And do you need air or sea or road transport? So everyone is working on an isolated island, and this shouldn't be the case. So the purpose of this symposium was not to decide on opening or closing Egyptian skies, but just as general said, the purpose was to freely and openly discuss the subject. So it's still not decided yet because we have many pending questions. Do we really need to liberate Cairo International Airport, and are we here referring to the tourism sector only, or we are taking into other sectors? And is it a legislative problem or enforcing of existing legislations? So we need to consider this perspective. What's on paper and what is on ground is really different. Restructuring Egypt Air has been repeatedly said, and I hope we can contribute to that effort, because if we have a foreign company designing this restructuring plan without having any national stakeholders, that might take the company into different direction. And just as Mr. Hani said, as if we are the same way we are talking about any public holding company. We should protect this company. Dr. Mona asked a valid question. Why are we reinventing the wheel? British Airways is really a strong company. The Emirati Airlines are also strong. So how do they protect the flag carrier? What do we need to increase and what do we need to decrease? Third point on Egypt Air restructuring, we shouldn't do everything at once. We should start gradually with simple steps on the cabin crew, on the ground services staff attitude. So whenever you go to ask for anything on the ground services, people will tell you this is not my responsibility. So in Terminal 2, you have two separate queues, one for men and other for women, in order to to do these search or inspection measures. So this has nothing to do with Egypt Air, but you will be experiencing this kind of situations also. The duty-free shops. Usually, but in Egyptian airports, we do not showcase the handicrafts in an attractive manner. They are there at the end of the corridor. So why are we doing so? All the countries are proud of their own national products. So Terminal 2. So try to find your way in the maze of getting your stamp at the immigration office. And what's the first thing you get to see after you leave the airport? You get the first thing you get to see when you land Egypt is tifal pots, cooking pots and pans. This shouldn't be the case. So all what we are discussing now has to do with the institutional reform, whether in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Egypt Air, or all the government bodies coordinating this sector or regulating this sector. As for the study that we are going to conduct, it's really easy to say we will do so and we expect you to do so and so. But we need data from the tourism sector, and in the road map we had predictions and projections for 2 years, and that's the maximum limit you can do. I'm not sure if we have a representative from the Ministry of Tourism. We invited them, but I'm not sure if we have a representative. We need their plans, and I can ask the help of CAPMAS in order to evaluate the data, to study the losses. Without data, you cannot take decisions, you cannot plan, you cannot do anything. I'm not referring to Her Excellency the Minister. I'm referring to the institution without personalizing things. I'm sorry, the speaker is not using the mic. We Yes, the point I'm making here is that we need to reform the institutions. And I want institutions themselves to feel the need for such a change. So nothing ever is going to change without asking for that change. If we really want to study things for better planning, we are not planning the domestic flight or the domestic tourism sector, and all these things are included in the study. I just want to correct some linguistic markers, and I want to delete some words from the meeting minutes. Now, our time is up, but if you are interested in discussing this matter with the committee, please leave your name, your specialization in contact responsibility, and then I will officially contact certain ministries. But if you are interested, please leave your name. I want to ask journalists to stand up, or people working in the press. Please avoid any provocative coverage of this event. So what we are doing now is designing a national study to help the country through the work of the think tanks in cooperation with government bodies. So don't look for catchy headlines. I appreciate that so much, because as you know, transparency is one of the core values, and I told Captain Sameh that we will be up to this responsibility, and I expect you to be up to this responsibility. In 2005, the World Bank gave a loan to the airport, and they paid for a company, and they wanted to apply open skies policy. And they brought together everyone, and they decided that we cannot do so all of a sudden in Egypt, and they designed a roadmap for all the sectors. So that person was really professional, and they even studied the subway in Cairo. So we want to have a look on this study. Yes, we will take that into consideration, and the two studies on competition. So of course we will build on what we already know. We will not start from scratch, and the whole team will help drive that forward. I want to ask the ECES staff to stand up, and please let's give them a round of applause, because but for this team, starting from the office boy, drivers, and up to the senior researchers, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. And I want to thank Mr. Ilhami Zayed, who's my colleague in the 50-member committee, because he started the idea of working on tourism, aviation, and he has his own team along with Mr. Haytham, and I really appreciate the work he's doing. And I want to thank all the panelists. Thank you so much.